Hello?
Hello. Well, when I read through your lyrics and listened to your songs, there are obviously you use certain words more often. But one word that kept popping up was dog.
Yeah.
What does a dog resemble for you?
Well, I grew up with two dogs. I love dogs. I think on the album, I have a special thing with wolves, especially. I actually found out something relatively recently that was interesting about wolves, is that we think of wolves as the lone wolf, the wolf by itself. But actually, wolves have really close family and pack ties. They like to stay together. They're very social animals. And I think that suits me very well. I'm very much, I guess, a family man, you could say. Beyond that, the sound of the wolf howling, similar to a seagull cry. They're both sounds that I like a lot, and I think because they evoke such a specific image and environment. For me, the seagull is, of course, like a beach sort of ocean scene. And the wolf is a similar sort of environment. It's often like an outside, expansive environment, like a big space, but it's always nighttime to me for some reason. The seagull and the wolf cry are kind of the same, but one's the daytime version and one's the nighttime version to me. But why the wolf came up so much in this album, I'm not totally sure. It wasn't a plan. Just, I suppose, a sound that I liked a lot while I was making these songs.
Well, you said wolf, but why did you use the word dog then on the album? Or?
Well, of course, a wolf is a type of dog. It's in the dog family, right? I think it just sounded better in the singing part than wolf. Wolf's a bit tougher to sing. It kind of felt like maybe I would trip over my words a little bit using wolf. The dog, the consonants of the words are very important to me. Often when I write the the singing parts, I'll write a singing part that doesn't feature any words, but there'll often be a very specific rhythmic pattern to the part, and I'll have to fit the words, and the sounds of the words have to fit a very specific template that I have, and dog worked better in that template than wolf did.
Well, the album is called Panda Bear Meets the Grim Reaper. When during the recording of the album did you come up with the album title?
I had the album title and a bunch of the song titles for a while, actually before any music was written. That's pretty typical for me. I'll often keep a running list of song titles and album titles, band titles, because it's the kind of thing where when I want to come up with it, I can't do it. So it's really tough for me to invent it on the spot. So I'll often just keep a big sort of backlog of titles for various things. And Panda Bear Meets the Grim Reaper is one I had for a while, inspired by a lot of dub records from Jamaica, which often feature one producer or musician meets another producer or musician, and it was a way of kind of signaling a collaboration. And I just thought it was sort of a funny idea. It's not so much of a concept record, but I thought it was sort of a funny idea, the idea of me working with this figure of death to make music.
What is death for you?
Well, as far as it relates to stuff that's talked about on the album, it's never literally death. It's always more referring to how massive changes can often involve something kind of dying and becoming something new. So I didn't really want to address that really heavy-handed kind of death stuff. I certainly hope I don't die anytime soon. But yeah, it was meant to address more changes than anything else.
Did you go through changes yourself, maybe in personal life, or?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I could argue that we're all going through changes constantly, some more obvious than others, but of course growing is a constant process of changing, whether we notice it or not. But I had children relatively recently. I feel like I'm sort of reaching a point in my life where I'm kind of hopefully in the middle. And I feel like my perspective has changed from that of a younger person sort of looking towards the end of their life. I've changed more towards a person who's maybe sitting on the other side of the fence and kind of maybe looking back a little bit on the ride up the mountain, and now I'm sort of coming down.
Can you pinpoint this change that you will step to the other side of the fence? Can you pinpoint? Was it something that happened, or?
There isn't a single moment, or I mean, certainly the children being born definitely was a massive change in perspective. I'm sure any parent can relate. It's a bit difficult to describe to those of you without children, but suffice it to say that it rewires your brain.
And was it immediately when your children were born, or was it something that happened gradually?
It's more gradual. More gradual. It's probably took a couple years before the new habits formed, habits of thinking. I find dramatic change often doesn't happen super quickly. Usually it's kind of a slow burn.
Well, you said that the changes in your personal life, definitely the children. Other changes maybe? Something that happened, or?
I mean, beyond just aging, I definitely hit a point with my body where things didn't work as well and as smooth as they used to. Being more tired. Sounds so lame to talk about being an old man, but jet lag being way gnarlier than it was before. Just noticing little things about my body that didn't feel as fresh as before.
And how did this affect your way of making music and writing lyrics? Well, lyrics we already discussed a bit, but making music?
Yeah. Well, I think a big change for me was wanting to write about things that I didn't feel were so introspective. It was very typical for me in the past 10 years or so to really sort of look inward and try to come up with something I thought might be useful for another person to think about or to experience. And this time, certainly more than any other time, I really pushed the words to feel like anybody could insert themselves into that story or that sort of fictional picture to hopefully suck some kind of meaning or use out of it. Rather than just sort of looking in the mirror, I really wanted to tell stories a bit more that I thought might be helpful or powerful in some way.
And how did you challenge yourself to do this? Were there certain points in your songwriting or maybe songs that you changed your perspective or changed the word? And do you have an example?
Well, certainly all of the songs started from a place where it was a personal experience or thought that I had that was sort of the seed of the idea of the song. But I would often, sort of the second step was sort of trying to remove any of that personal stuff from the picture. There's a couple songs where it shines through a bit. There's a song called Tropic of Cancer where it ends up being about disease and sort of wanting to feel like sort of empathy or forgiveness for disease, as far as it being something that's trying to survive just like anything else. But it started from a place of personal experience with disease in my family. My father died from brain cancer several years ago. So it started from that really personal event, but ends up being about disease in general. So that's sort of highlights that kind of change from something that's only I know about to something that I feel like lots of people understand.